awesome. It's poetry.
Good evening and welcome to tonight's meeting of the School Board Trustees for Fort Wayne Community Schools. We start this meeting like we do each meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And now we have roll call of members.
Good evening, Steve Corona from the 5th District.
Julie Hollingsworth, District 1.
Jennifer Mathias, District 2.
Ann Duff, Member at Large.
Raleigh Booker, District 4.
Noah Smith, District 3.
And to my left, we have Dr. Mark Daniels, Superintendent of Fort Wayne Community Schools, and Angie Filler, Clerk of the Board, and I'm Maria Norman, Member at Large. I'm sorry, my computer is twitching, so that is why
You're twitching?
Okay. Got it. Thank you. Okay, so tonight we start with the Isthmus State Solo and Ensemble from Wayne High School. And apparently my computer is just not going to work. Steve, could you take that first item?
Sure.
Thank you.
The recommendation before us is that we recognize Wayne High School's saxophone quartet for earning a gold rating at the ISS-MA State Solo and Ensemble. It's been over 10 years since a saxophone quartet from Wayne received the gold rating at the state. The students have worked hard since October to put together the challenging piece of music they perform. Even at the state level, they were the only group who chose to perform this particular piece of music. I'm now curious, showing their willingness to take on a challenge and show off their considerable music talent. So as I call your name, and hopefully I get the pronunciation on them correctly, we've got 2 seniors and 2 juniors. Zane, is it Bisig? Bissig. Zane Bissig. Being congratulated by our superintendent and getting some information from their principal, John Hauser. Jordan Merriman. Don't know if the students are with us, but let me say their names too. John Hollander. John is with us. And you're not a quartet unless you have 4 people. Devin Walton. And
he is a male volleyball player.
Devin is on another court of competition, but certainly a part of this quartet. Their band director is Kenneth Woods. He's not playing volleyball this evening, so he's with us. And of course, their principal, John Hauser. Let's congratulate these gentlemen.
Parents, you can come closer and get a picture if you want.
And so who's going to tell us about the piece you performed? There are 2 microphones, one there and one in the center of the room.
Can you hum a few bars?
You got it right there.
Gotcha. Hello, everyone. I wasn't expecting to actually talk about our piece today, but for people who might know, it's called That's a Plenty. It's arranged by Paul Nagel. It is mostly a Dixieland jazz piece where it has a lot of complicated rhythms and giving off different melodies from both me, the soprano player, and John, our alto player.
How long have the 4 of you been performing together?
We started playing as a quartet just this last October, but each of us have been playing with each other for a few different years. Yeah, 3 to 4-ish. I've been playing with Zane for 4 years in marching band, and then John when he started 3 years ago.
Competition stiff at the state?
Sometimes. Other times, it's mostly just against ourselves, so we don't have to worry about, oh, this group is much better. But if someone else plays our piece, then if they play it better than us, they know how to score us appropriately.
So do either of you seniors have aspirations, musical aspirations after high school?
I personally plan to play music as a hobby after high school, Zane.
Likewise, yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. Hopefully we'll hear you around town sometime. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Yeah, you have to go. Sorry, walk through the construction.
All right. Next up on the agenda, we have the consent agenda, which includes the approval of minutes from the meeting held on March 11th, vouchers and payrolls for the period ending March 25th, and payroll for the periods ending February 23rd and March 8th, personnel report, and required disclosures. Is there a motion on the floor?
So moved.
Second.
Thanks, Ann. Thanks, Julie. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Dr. Daniel, did you have anything? No. Okay, thank you. We have no old business, so we move to new business. We have the Allen County Department of Health funding. Julie, can you take that one? Thank you.
It's recommended that the board approve the acceptance of a $75,000 grant, I guess, or funds from the Allen County Health Department. These funds will be used to cover one school nurse position for the 24-25 school year, so nurses can continue current operations, including voluntary COVID vaccinations for students and staff. This position was in jeopardy of elimination due to the loss of ESSER funding. And Mary Hess, Director of Health and Wellness, is available to answer any questions.
Thanks, Julie. Hi, Mary. Hi. It's been a while since we've seen you. Okay, is there a motion on the floor?
I move for approval.
Second.
Thanks, Julie. Thanks, Raleigh. Any questions for Mary?
Was this a grant that you applied?
It really was not a grant. The health department had a grant to continue COVID vaccination. They're kind of subcontracting us to continue the work we've already been doing. We've been offering COVID vaccination to both students and staff since the pandemic. We want to continue to do that, but we were worried with our staff possibly shrinking that might be in jeopardy. And so they wanted to show their support by giving us this funding. There is a path forward. It's only for next year, these particular funds. I do think Medicaid billing for nursing services is going to be the long-term answer. That law has been in place since 2022. We haven't gotten a lot of information from the state about the how-to, but we are really close to being successful with that. And I do think we're going to be able to cover those positions long-term. We just need that little buffer of next school year to get things where they need to be.
And how many positions are we in jeopardy of losing because of that?
There are 4. We might have some projections from the Medicaid folks, our third-party biller, that might give us a better understanding of what we might get at the start of next school year. Right now, we're in the phase of making sure that all the operations work. There is a plan to scale that bigger next school year as we learn what sorts of services we can bill for and what we need to do to make that happen. I do think it's in the long-term best interest of our kids to keep school nurses in place if we can. I know they're really hard decisions for the district to make, but at least I think there is a good end game for us. So I'm grateful to the partnership with the health department that they'd be willing to help us get through the beginning of next year and see where we get.
Is this position one that's already in one certain school, or is this a special position that like maybe it's held at FACE or?
The FACE nurses are actually staffed by the Parkview Partnership. So it would be school nurse positions that are affected by the ESSER dollars. We would probably have to look at our smaller schools and probably make the assignments a little bit different for next year if we really were on a skinnier staff. Usually, we have nurses that retire. We're a big team anymore, thank heavens. We usually have enough nurses retire that I don't think any particular person's job is in jeopardy, but we will have to do the best we have with the assets we're given next school year.
So this law about Medicaid or Medicare billing went into effect in '22.
It did, yes.
We're independent opinion, of course. Where's the holdup for allowing us to not be able to execute?
That's a great question. The legislators did their part. There was a lot of waiting from the State Department of Education, getting information to schools. We still don't have a rule book for general ed. We have the rule book for special ed, and we're kind of applying the same rules, working with our third-party biller to make sure that we're doing everything that's appropriate to make that happen. But there is no rule book for general ed yet to this day.
Do you happen to recall what bill number that was?
I could get that for you. I can't off the top of my head, but I absolutely will send it to you.
Thank you, Mary.
Yep.
Any other questions for Mary? Thanks,
Thank
Mary.
you.
Yeah. Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay. Next on the agenda, we have the K-12 robotics competition grant. Jennifer, can you read that one? Thanks.
It is recommended that the board approve the acceptance of the 2023-2024 K-12 robotics competition grant for Snyder High School from the Department of Indiana of Education in the amount of $6,568. The Indiana Department of Education robotics competition grant supports the many related costs of running a robotics program, including registration fees and travel expenses. The Director of Curriculum Instruction and Assessment, Courtney Lumley, and Executive Director of Safety and Community Partnerships, Matt Schiebel, will be available to answer questions.
Thanks, Jennifer. Is there a motion on the floor?
So moved.
Second.
Thanks, Raleigh. Thanks, Noah. Any questions for Courtney or Matt?
How many of our schools do have co-curricular robotics programs?
Courtney will tell you that.
We have teams at the high school level, 2 current teams competing, 5 at the middle school, and we had 14 teams at the elementary school who have competed.
Is that an extracurricular position that's funded for a teacher or whatever person to?
So we have index positions for the 2 high school positions because that involves more extensive travel
Right.
And everything, and that's what this particular grant covers for Snyder High School.
In the state grant, can a drone be classified as a robotics device?
Where are you going with this?
Well, two areas. One, I just saw something from a friend of mine who's on the Compton, California school board and saw his school district in competition at the state level against other schools. And I was just thinking about the application of being able to control a drone into the 21st century workplace. So I'm just wondering if there were a school and competition available in Indiana, might we begin to think not robotics, but drones?
I think one of the things you see right now is we're open to about anything that's going to move our kids forward in 21st century skills. So in this particular case, robotics, the rules are very specific. Exactly what the challenge is, exactly what kind of materials may be used, exactly how much they may spend. And so that's why we were fortunate with this particular grant. This grant was a reimbursement grant, so we needed startup money to begin with to even get the grant to begin with. So the thing we're really fortunate about as far as FIRST robotics goes, is it's a very expensive sport. It's not uncommon to see a budget of $20,000 to $25,000 to make it through a season. because these entry fees are anywhere from $4,000 to $6,000. So you see this particular grant was $6,000. That's going to cover the entry fee for a single competition. It's very expensive. It also does, it's oftentimes like a 3-day competition. So a lot of times the teams load in on a Friday and the competition then goes all day Saturday, all day Sunday. So then you have hotel expense, because most of the places that our teams have traveled are not places where you're going to set up, drive 3 hours back to Fort Wayne, and then show up again. So we have been extremely fortunate that we have good funders, right? So we were able to split funding this year. So Steel Dynamics sponsored Northside, and we have sponsorship from Medical Information or Medical Informatics Engineering sponsored Snyder. And really that's the only way that these two programs exist. I mean, without the funding from corporate sponsors, from our business community, we're not going to be able to compete. I think I told you last time I was here, there's only 3 programs really in the Fort Wayne area. Homestead, that's existed for a while, and then Snyder and Northside. Northside's in its 2nd year, Snyder's in its 1st year. So it takes money to sustain.
What's the total number of students from our district competing in robotics events?
In this particular competition, the teams are not extremely large, and in some fashion, I don't know that you want the teams to be too large. You kind of get in one another's way. I think the team at Northside's probably 10 to 15. Snyder's team's a little larger at 20, 25. Sometimes you don't take the entire team because you don't need the entire team necessarily at the competition, but we were fortunate with Snyder's team that their sponsor actually went down to Indianapolis and watched them compete. And then after watching them compete, was so impressed, he wanted to know when they were going to get building a second machine. Now, the other programs, VEX, I don't have statistics on that, but you have that, of course, don't you?
First RAB, yeah.
Well, here, step up.
And as far as students participating, we'd have to get that number for you, because that could be a club at the elementary school, but they all participate through VEX IQ.
Have we ever hosted an event?
We just hosted this year a warm-up event at Northside High School, actually. So we would like to host some events. I mean, let's be honest, not only does it reduce our drive time, but it's a good fundraiser for our teams. And Dave West at Northside has already told First Robotics that when they're ready to sponsor, that we'd like to be one of those schools that does that.
What does the $4,000 to $6,000 in entry fee cover? I mean, I know it's 3 days, and so I assume you have judges and other things, but that's an expensive entry fee.
It is a very expensive entry fee. I would imagine judges in the entire organization. And there's a lot of mechanics in the setup. If you've ever watched it on the videotape, I mean, the setup is expensive. There's a lot of technology that goes into it, a lot of TV broadcasting that goes into it. It still seems, I agree with you, it seems like a large fee. But these aren't cheap devices that they're building either, so.
Sounds like an economic opportunity.
Any other questions? Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that brings us to the application for the Common School Fund. Ann, can you read that one?
It is recommended that the board approve the application for an acceptance of an advancement from the Indiana Common School Fund, CSF, for educational technology equipment in the amount of $2 million in anticipation that the Indiana State Board of Education will approve the acceptance of applications for the Common School Fund loan at their March 27th business meeting. We are requesting prior approval since the window of receipt of the application of the Common School Fund loan is Thursday, March 28th through Friday, April 19th, which is outside the parameters of our March 25 and April 22 board meetings. Advancements from the Common School Fund provide funds for school districts to purchase educational technology. Fort Wayne Community Schools will use these monies to help fund the FWCS technology plan previously submitted to the state. Technology funds are currently insufficient to fund all the technology needs of the school corporation. Funds are provided as a loan and are awarded to school corporations on the basis of assessed value per pupil with low AV per pupil corporations receiving funds before high AV per pupil corporations. FWCS therefore cannot be assured of receiving the requested advancement. Should the application be successful, funds will be budgeted in the debt service fund to repay this loan beginning in the year 2026. Interest on the loan is expected to be no more than 4% and is likely to be as low as 1%. Common School Fund advancements differ from School Technology Advancement Account loans, which FWCS receives on an annual basis. Unlike CSF advancements, STAA advancements are given to all applying school corporations regardless of their assessed value per pupil ranking. Kevin Grubel, Director of Technology, will be available to answer the questions.
Thanks, Ann. Is there a motion on the floor?
So moved.
Second.
Thanks, Ann. Thanks, Jennifer. Any questions for Kevin? Wow, I've never heard you guys so quiet. Okay, all those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay. I'll do the next recommendation. It is recommended that the board sign a petition in support of the effort to rename Calhoun Street to Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard. The MLK Club of Fort Wayne petitioned the city of Fort Wayne to rename Calhoun Street. City policy requires a petitioner to obtain at least 60% of the property owners on a street before the city will consider a request to rename the street. Because FWCS owns multiple properties on Calhoun, the MLK Club requested the district's endorsement of their effort. Given Dr. King's contribution to the nation and the district's dedication to diversity, equity, and inclusion, the FWCS administration recommends that the board support this initiative. Is there a motion on the floor?
So moved.
Second.
Thanks, Steve. Thanks, Ann. And we do have with us in attendance today George Hicks and Benny Edwards. You guys have remarks that you want to make?
I'm George Hicks, current president of the Martin Luther King Club. Have the opportunity to work with Benny Edwards, who was the president for the past 16 years. I'm given the opportunity to share the work that's been happening over the past 2 years.
All right. I'm Benny Edwards, and I've been with the Martin Luther King Club for about 35 years. We've been part of this city for 37 years. We have the King Day celebration on Dr. King holiday. We've been at the Grand Wayne for about 18 years, and recently we've moved to the Parkview Mural Center, and that's a better facility with new equipment. But anyway, and free parking. But anyway, we're here today because we're asking your approval for the Calhoun Street project, and we've been working on that for about 2 years. And we met with the mayor and his staff, and he laid out some guidelines and things that we must meet. And it's 6% of the property owners on Calhoun Street. And it just so happens that Fort Wayne Community School has property on Calhoun Street. So we're here asking that you support us on that effort. And I have some flyers that identify who John Calhoun is and who Dr. Martin Luther King is. And if you'd like to see those are available. But it's a big difference. John Calhoun, the 7th Vice President of the United States, and he was a slave owner. He was from South Carolina. He was adamant about slavery forever. He said slave was a common good for the slaves as well as the slave owners. And Calhoun Street was one of the first streets laid in Fort Wayne. And we don't believe that it should be named in the honor of John Calhoun as such a person. Now, Dr. King, he did a lot of things for both white and black to change the history and discrimination, including me. I was part of the Great Migration North and here in Fort Wayne, as I grew up in Fort Wayne, and I never knew who Calhoun Street was named after. And most people don't, and they don't care, but there's a lot of history behind that. Now, if you Google John Calhoun, you'll understand why we want that street should be changed to Martin Luther King Boulevard. It's one of the most important streets in Fort Wayne. It's the east-west dividing line, and it runs right through downtown. So that's what we've been working on for about 2 years. So we ask your approval to change the name, well, sign off on the property owned by the Fort Wayne Community Schools. Any questions?
I know it's been difficult getting signatures. Can you talk a little bit about that process and why it's been difficult?
Okay, one of the things it's took us so long, a lot of the property owners are absentee landlords, and we sent out letters to all the property owners, and we only got a few back, some in Florida, California, and also the corporate owners of the properties on Calhoun Street. Some of them never returned our letters, and we're not able to contact those. So, and one of the other things that kind of took the wind out of ourselves, Huffman Properties. They had an office there on Creighton and Calhoun, and they own 27 properties on Calhoun Street. And they decided that they would not want to change history and sign our petition. So that kind of knocked us down. So right now we're about 30%. There's 388 properties on Calhoun, and we're about 30%. And we could get that 27 properties. And we were going to meet with the mayor, but he changed it to 60%, I believe. So that's what we're tasked to do, to get that 6%. So, and that's sort of the obstacles that we're up against.
Any other questions?
Gentlemen, I just applaud your work. I support it. It's never too late to do the right thing. And recognizing there is a cost and inconvenience in making this name change, but I think it's very modest to what you're trying to do. And so I think, as I indicated to George before the meeting, if I can help personally in talking to some of the property owners about bumping that percentage of people who've signed on, I'd be happy to do this. But you're on the right track, and I know that I support your efforts.
Thank you very much. Your endorsement is definitely a boost to our opportunity to really get the street renamed to Dr. Martin Luther King Boulevard. We're excited about all the work's been done. We have over 1,000 people who have already signed our online petition, and so we're excited about the opportunity for others to join us.
Where can they sign that online petition if they want to be able to do so?
It's through our MOK Club. It's the website is Rename Calhoun Street, FW.org. Rename Calhoun Street, FW.org.
One of the things that I've been walking the streets and knocking on doors for a little over a year, and Calhoun Street has changed from the time that I grew up. It's a lot more diverse than it used to be. There's a lot of Burmese, Hispanics, and whites and black people live on Calhoun Street. So I think it's a good possibility. And Fort Wayne being the second largest city, the all-American cities, and there are 6 cities in Indiana that has a Martin Luther King Boulevard. Fort Wayne does not. Why is that? And we're looking to change that.
I know that, we have 2 properties on Calhoun, so that's not a lot as far as your percentages, but Southside is one of those. And Chris Law, I know, has been very active in collecting the signatures
Absolutely.
For the name change. And he said that he is working on a project with the Peacemakers. He's one of our Peacemaker, I don't know what the title is, Peacemaker people at Southside. But he said that they surveyed these students at Southside to see where their parents were from, their grandparents were born, and they said they discovered 60 different countries that they represented. So Southside itself is very diverse, and he said that this is just a gift to our city, and that renaming the street to MLK is just more representative of that street, and especially to Southside High School. So says that these students are definitely a gift to our community. So I do support your efforts.
One other thing, we have the Martin Luther King Bridge. We love that bridge. It's a beautiful bridge. It's pride of our city. We would also like to have a street. And Calhoun Street should not be named in honor of such a person as John Calhoun. So that's what we're looking to change. And I think it would be perfect, and we believe it would be perfect for Dr. Martin Luther King Boulevard. That's what we're working toward.
Thank you for the work that you are doing. I've seen you out on open streets and different major events in the community, telling the story, sharing the story. We appreciate your work. I'm currently reading a book where it just so happens it aligns with what we're talking about now. It's a book about the history of America, and he is mentioned in that. One of the things that I really appreciate about the work that you're doing is not only are you're bringing the history to light. You know, a lot of people, they don't want to talk about the ugly parts of history or the real parts of history, but Ann did such a great job kind of rallying the board around this issue and sharing information. I watched a video where Chris did a PowerPoint when he talked to the students about the history of John Calhoun and then also the history of Martin Luther King. So it's a great opportunity to involve our students, to involve our community, and teach us all a little bit about the history. And I think changing the name is just another step in us creating the community that we really want to live in. So hats off to you for doing the work. I appreciate you. I support you. And again, Ann, thank you so much for rallying us around this important issue.
Yeah, another thing that Chris said is that we're not erasing history. They are history tellers, and they are just learning or working to learn from history and to reshape the narrative at this time and moving forward so that it reflects the society that we live in, especially on that street. So.
Absolutely. Chris was a tremendous asset to this project, and we could not have done it without him.
Yeah, absolutely. And Fort Wayne is a growing city and a more diverse city and the all-American city. And we believe that it should have a Martin Luther King Boulevard at some time in our history and in the future. And the more the near future is better. Sooner is better. So that's what we're working toward. Thank you for your support.
Thank you.
Any other questions? No. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay. That brings us to the conclusion of our meeting. Our next regularly scheduled meeting is April 22nd. Board comments.
Well, as I said just a few minutes ago, it's never too late to do the right thing, and I know we've reversed our position on the closing of school on April 8th. Something's happening in the sky that day, and I know we had a lot of interest from employees and parents and students about being able to witness the solar eclipse, and so we will allow that opportunity, and it's the right thing to do. Thank you.
I believe spring break starts Friday, so I'm sure students and staff are particularly looking forward to that day. So I hope you have a wonderful, relaxing, restful spring break and recharge for the last quarter. And like Steve said, I hope everybody gets a chance to see the solar eclipse. It's there's not going to be one for a while after this, so it's a good opportunity. So I'm glad that we are, like Steve said, that we are taking that day off. That's it.
No comments.
I'll have to tell my eclipse story since you brought up the eclipse. But a year ago, some friends of ours from Florida and my husband and I were planning our eclipse trip, and we were going to go to Montreal and Vermont, because those were places that I had not been to and wanted to see. So they started researching the Airbnbs and everything, and lo and behold, there were no Airbnbs to get. Or if we wanted to pay $2,000 a night, we could find one, but that far in advance, we could not. So,
Wow.
yeah, so we ended up, my friend in Florida emailed and said, you know, the eclipse does go through Fort Wayne, and she had seen it with like in Evansville, so I looked to see if that also included Terre Haute, where my son has a house for college. So instead of a nice Airbnb in Montreal, Vermont, we're going to Terre Haute, a college house that I'll have to clean before our guests arrive. But it should be fun. We'll make a great adventure out of it. Also, I don't know if it was how many days ago, there was a letter to the editor in the paper from Molly Papier, who has actually worked for us in various roles, but it was in rebuttal to someone else's letter to the editor about the money for the cell phone pouches being a tax dollar waste, blah, blah, blah. And, but she felt that it was such a small percentage of what we're paying that if you don't have the pouches, you're also paying teachers to reprimand and get the kids to put away their cell phones, and that's a cost in itself as well. It was a really good letter, and I posted on my Facebook page, and she said that in the letter, they did leave out her statistics that it was only 0.62% of the $238 million education fund budget that we would pay for these pouches, and she thought that just seemed like a tiny amount of taxpayer dollars. But she said that both of her kids have reported reading books instead of sitting on their phones when they finish their work. And that was day 2. So that was exciting to hear, because I can remember back in the olden days carrying my books, and then my reading book was always on top, because then after I finished my work, I could sit there and read my book because I didn't have a phone. So that is all.
Thanks, Holly.
I was able to spend some time at Abbott Elementary this morning, so shout out to the Wolfpack. It was Read Across America Day. I got to go in and read one of my favorite books, Little Red and the Hungry Lion, and it just so happened to coincide with them reading different tellings of Little Red Riding Hood. So it was really cool. It was fun. Shout out to Mrs. Abernathy's class. It was just a good time. So enjoy spring break. Stay safe and all of that.
Ditto. No other comment.
I want to thank the CEO champions, the people that participated, the different corporations. We had approximately 29, and in the near future, we'll have a nice advertisement supporting those involved with us, Fort Wayne Community Schools and our Schools of Success. That's it.
I just wanted to congratulate the Wayne Generals. I wore my shirt. We rented the game. I guess we didn't rent it. We paid for it. The IHSAA is pay-per-view now, apparently. So you can stream those games for $12. Yeah, they won the morning game and came up short against Fishers, but it was just really exciting to watch, and they should be really proud of their efforts. So congratulations to those students. And I think, happy spring break. I think that's it. Is there a motion?
Move we approve, Madam President.
Second.
Thanks. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed?